Hello, I am here with Mojo Master client Brittany, and it is time for Brittany to have her annual color refresh. So we're going to videotape that for you. But first things first, we're going to trim up these gorgeous bushy brows of hers. So just so you can see how that's done too. First thing I do is taking my little spoolie brush here. I just brush everything up here like that. Take a tiny pair of little scissors. And anything that's sticking up over the rest of the brow, we're going to trim away. Okay, and then we're going to brush them down. Anything that I see hanging out here, lower them where I want them. And then my secret weapon, I love these little trimming eyebrow razors. They're called Tinkle, T-I-N-K-L-E. This is the Tinkle Petite. And I'm just going to edge right up to the brow where we want the hair to stay and get rid of everything else. It's just like waxing, but it's less painful, obviously, because we're using a razor instead of wax. But what I want to do is just get the shape looking how I want it, so before I put color behind there, I'll have a clear road map where to head. Same thing here. I'm jamming out to Neil Diamond in the background. I don't know if you guys can hear that. That's how I roll here at Mojo Master. Alright. I'm gonna take my scissors, trim up anything bushy here. She's so blessed to have all this hair. I know a lot of you guys would kill to have all this hair. And then we're gonna brush it down. Anything that's hanging too far down this way, I'm gonna trim as well. Goodbye, hair. All right, so you can see her shape's a little bit better. We have been numbing her brows for the last 20 minutes, so we're gonna go ahead and recolor them. I'm not gonna map them as I would if she were a new client, because her shape is still pretty much there. We're not changing anything. The one thing we are going to change is last time we did microblading, and if you move the hair, you can see some strokes under there, but microblading really only lasts about a year. And because Brittany has all of this awesome hair naturally, we don't really need to have those hair strokes in there. So we're gonna switch to a powder fill that will last Brittany longer. Basically, that means we're going to just shade color underneath all of this hair, following the shape that's already there. But it will give her nice shape and structure without having to come back every year for microblading, because she's blessed with all that. So we're going to go ahead and just color these babies in, and she'll be good for a couple of years after that. You ready, Freddie?
Yes.
I'm using Tina Davies Blonde pigment, which is what we used on her last time, and it was perfect. So if it ain't broke, don't fix it. For my needle, I'm using a 3-round shader. I could do this with a single needle, but I feel like a 3-round shader will do the trick for us, because we're not doing any like sometimes I'll use a single needle up here to keep it really, really light and fair, but you can achieve the same thing with a shader if you just move your needle fast enough and don't hang out in one area too long. All right, you ready? Mm-hmm. Here we go. So this first pass, Brittany, will feel a little bit more than she will the rest. And then we will put a secondary numbing on her, which is going to really make her comfy. The secondary numbing is a compound of marcaine, tetracaine, and lidocaine, which is great because one of them is longer acting and one of them is faster acting. So it really does a nice job keeping my clients comfortable to the end. So my goal right now with this first pass is just to get the skin open. I am using a little bit of color, but my goal is just to get the skin open to get that secondary numbing on there. It doesn't work on skin until it is broken. It has to get into you know, into broken skin to be effective. So my goal right now is not so much implanting color. I mean, it's nice that that's happening too, but it's really more for just opening up the skin here so that we can get that secondary numbing on board and have Brittany super comfortable through the whole procedure. On a scale of 1 to 10, what would you say the pain is right now, Brittany?
Maybe a 1.5.
Oh gosh, maybe a 1.5, and that's without the secondary numbing, so that's pretty good.
And I'm a wimp too.
And she's a wimp. I don't think that's true, but whatever. So we're gonna, same thing over here, just gonna lightly kind of scratch the surface of the skin where we're gonna be putting the color to get the skin open. And then I'm gonna just paint some secondary numbing over there. Oh, and the other thing that's important about that secondary numbing is it has a chemical in it called epinephrine. Epinephrine actually kind of constricts your blood vessels, so it's super effective for us. It will help restrict swelling. It will minimize bleeding. And it does just a great job in helping the anesthetic to last a bit longer. So we're gonna, the compound that I use has epinephrine in it. We're gonna put that on right now. And we're gonna let that just hang out a few minutes. I just paint it right over my messy pigment here. We'll clean all this up in a minute, but right now I just wanna get that epinephrine into there. I know it's not pretty to look at, but she'll be gorgeous when she leaves here. So just smearing that all in there, and we're just gonna let this hang out like 5 minutes or so. The nice thing about epinephrine is it turns the skin white in the surrounding area because it is pushing the blood out of the immediate area, leaving the skin blanched. And that is how I know when she is fairly numb and that we can proceed. So just for the sake of making her less freakish looking, I'll clean up some of this messy stuff. I have to confess, I am not the tidiest worker. Your results will be tidy, but I'm kind of a mess pot. You see, I get fingerprints on absolutely everything. All right, so we're gonna let this sit for 5 minutes, and then we will check back in and continue. Okay, we are back with Brittany. I don't know if you guys can see this or not. It's very subtle because she's on the fair side anyway, but the perimeter here around the brow is turning kind of white, which lets me know that the numbing stuff is doing a good job. And you can also see she doesn't need a ton of stuff. That little quick pass that I did already put in a fair amount of color. And because she's so light and fair, we want to keep these natural and understated. We don't want to detract from all of this naturalness. So basically what I'm going after is, you can see underneath here, the edges is just, they're not defined anymore. You know, it's kind of jiggity jaggedy. So all I'm gonna do is reinforce these edges, kind of enhance this arch a bit, bring the ends down a little bit more fullness there. And over here, this one actually looks a touch better, but same thing, she's got a gap here. These need to come in further. So our goals are just to kind of clean up the edges and fill in the blank spots. You know, if you maintain these, if you come like once a year for a color boost, it's a lot less work, and then you don't ever have to go through that phase where they look janky. You can, you know, always look awesome. So, okay, enough gabbing. We're gonna jump back in there.
Enough gabbing, time for jabbing.
That's please, enough gabbing, time for jabbing. As I said, I'm using a 3-round shader, and I'm running my machine fairly slow and moving my hand fast because I want to just have a light shading. I'm not looking to implant a ton of dense color. So I'm just gonna real kind of quickly just go in here and color, keeping my hand moving because I don't want any big blobs of color anywhere. We want this to be just a light shading of color so that these look like her God-given brows, not tattoos. And it's tempting to want to wipe these every 10 seconds. Believe me, I do that. It's a habit that I'm trying to break because then you just keep wiping, like over wiping the skin, which irritates the skin. Sometimes you wipe away color that might otherwise kind of soak in. So try and resist that urge to wipe them at every turn. If you just kind of let it sit there, it's like when you paint a mask on them at the end, you're trying to let that soak in. So it's the same thing while you're working. You know, if you don't need to wipe it to see what's underneath there that second, then don't do it. So I'm just cleaning up these edges, just going over everything real quickly. The little shadow of color. All right, and we're gonna let that hang out there a few minutes. All right, let's see what we got. So you can see when I wipe away the color, there's already a nice pretty shadow of the color. It's already more defined under here. That's our goal. We're not looking to make these super dense and dark. So maybe another pass or two is all she's gonna need to get her brows looking back the way they should. This is Skinful Beauty Pigment Seal that I'm putting on here now. I'm a big fan of this stuff. I have definitely noticed that my retention is better. So after a pass, I'll put a layer of that on, let it sit there a few minutes, and then I'm gonna go back and just throw another layer of secondary numbing on just to make sure that she's staying nice and comfy while we're working on this one. All right, and here's the secondary numbing. For my secondary numbing, I use blue gel, although I have to say, I feel like the blue gel is not as great as it used to be. So today I'm using blue gel and also using something called Super Juice 3, which is another type of secondary numbing, just to keep Brittany as comfortable as possible. All right, coming over here. Time is at hand. And I sing to you also while we're tattooing your brows, like it or not.
Love it.
All right. It's amazing how many sing-alongs we end up having in here while I'm doing eyebrows. You doing okay?
Yes. I literally can't feel anything.
Can't feel anything. Well, that sounds good to me. Yeah, see this under edge here needs some definition, so I just kind of do like a little sketchy outline there just to give it a crispy edge. But again, you don't want to keep that hand moving because you don't want any dark deposits of color anywhere. You want a nice evenly distributed shadow of color underneath everything. All right, you can see the shapes taking place there. And you'll notice there's really no bleeding. There should not be a lot of bleeding. If you're seeing a lot of blood, something's wrong. Either you didn't check your needle and it's just not a very good needle, like it's barbs or bent, which happens often, so you really need to check for that. Maybe your needle depth is set too deep and that is making it bleed. Sometimes it's just the client's skin, you know, a lot of sun damage, but definitely not in this case. Brittany has gorgeous skin. So, and you know, young skin, which makes a big difference. You should have maybe a little pinpoint bleeding, but you should not be seeing, you know, like drops of blood. Now, of course, if you have a client that's using Retin-A or something like that, glycolic acid, alpha hydroxy acid on their skin in the brow region. That will definitely make the skin very irritated and bleed more. So it's very important that you screen for that stuff as well in your medical history form before you get involved with the client. You want to make sure that they're ideal for the procedure, and it's okay to turn people away if they're not, because you definitely don't want to start a relationship with somebody that you can't make happy. It's miserable. I've done it. It's one of those things you learn when you're an old lady. Sometimes the juice is not worth the squeeze, as they say. Alright, so here's a little pass of the pigment seal, and then I'm gonna put another swath of the secondary numbing and then go to the other side for a few, because I don't want to overstay my welcome here and have her be miserable. There's still some holes in there, but you can see the shape is starting to come. So good. Everything still feeling okay?
Yeah. Still can't feel a thing.
Nice. You feel like you're getting your money's worth?
Absolutely. I'd rather not feel anything.
Yeah, me too. That whole adage, beauty is pain, I'm trying to debunk it.
Yeah, seriously.
I find that pain is a very subjective thing, though. You know, everybody has such a different threshold. I can do the same procedure to you and as, you know, another client, and your experiences can be very different.
Absolutely.
And it depends so much on like what's going on in your life, how are you feeling, are you overtired, are you under the weather, are you menstruating, like all of those things affect your
Absolutely.
pain tolerance. Okay, we're back. We have to, my phone was dying. Anyway, so you can see we're nearly done already. I only did like 1.5 very quick passes. There's a hole here, so I'm going after that. You see there's a little hole here. But you know, the shape is basically there. Now, we did her a year ago microblading, so she still had enough of a remnant of a shape. Having the option of hair strokes is amazing when you don't have any hair, but when you have hair, sometimes you don't need to do it. You can just throw in a little bit of color and they look amazing. You getting sore?
Nope. Not at all, actually.
Oh boy, those are looking pretty sweet. I think we're about done. Yeah. You needed it, honey bunny.
And I'll get all of the touch-ups done, and they'll look so perfect for
Well,
the
you're
wedding.
probably not going to need anything.
Perfect.
I mean, this is kind of like the touch-up, even though it's a year late. You still had a fair amount of color, so I don't anticipate we need to visit this again, although, you know, I'm happy to. I don't think you're going to need it necessarily, but we'll see. We'll cross that bridge when we come to it. I mean, definitely normally I touch everybody up 4 to 6 weeks later, depending on the client. But I feel fairly confident that you may not need anything on these because you had a lot of color left over from last time.
Perfect.
So, yeah. Now, just to remind you about aftercare and everything, Today I'm gonna send you home with some plain gauze.
Okay.
And some cream. And all you do today is take that gauze and every 45 minutes or so, press it against your brow. You know, just like dab like that.
Okay.
To absorb any weeping that you might have.
Okay.
Sometimes there is, sometimes there isn't. But what we're trying to do is avoid a collection of lymph fluid, which is like just natural body fluids that come to the surface of the skin. We don't want that to collect there and get thick and crusty, because when these peel in about 5 days, which they will do, all of that lymph fluid, if it's left to sit there, the pigment gets kind of trapped in it. And when it peels off, it's going to pull off more color than we want to go away. So the less lymph collection we get up there, the better your color retention will be. So what you want to do is blot them today, like every 45 minutes or so as you think about it. If the gauze keeps coming off clean, don't worry about it. Starting tomorrow morning with just cool water and clean fingertips, no soap or anything, you're going to very gently rinse away any crusties that you feel in your brow. You can just like make gentle circular motions and rinse away anything crusty that you feel in the brow, pat them dry, and then a thin coat of the after inked cream that I'm going to send home with you. You're going to do that twice a day for 5 days or until they're done peeling, okay? You'll start that tomorrow. I'm also going to email you your aftercare instructions, and I'm sending you home with everything that you need.
Perfect.
Most important is to protect these from the sun, especially while they're healing, and the water. Don't take when you shower, don't like have the water beating down on your face.
Got it.
Don't hang around where there's a lot of steam, like no saunas, no excessive exercise. Because if these get soft and mushy with steam or water, that too will make the color come off prematurely.
Got it.
And we want to give these every fighting chance to heal right into your skin so that the color is locked in.
It's basically just take care of them like you would take care of bright red hair.
yeah, pretty much. Yeah, my hair, I get one washing out of it, and it seems like all the color, it looks like somebody's been murdered in my shower.
Yep.
When I wash my hair with that red.
I used to have hair just as red as yours. I definitely know that murder scene.
Oh, yeah. I think we're done. Let me just be picky here. You're gonna make the color a little dense right there. Just one spot looks a little light. I don't like them too solid because then they lose their soft naturalness. But man, the shape is super fly. So there's one little spot where it's not quite as dense right in here where you have a little less hair, so I'm just gonna hit that. Can't wait for you to see that.
I'm so excited.
I love microblading in the 3D-ness of it, but I love how when you do machine shading, how crisp the edges can be, you know, where it looks like a freshly waxed brow.
And the shape is perfect.
The shape is perfect. Yeah, the shape is perfect. Not everybody wants that sculpted look. And again, if you had no hair, I might have taken a different approach. But since you already have hair, I just need to give you a shape to lay that hair on.
Yeah. Now I remember last year you told me after you did the microblading that you're like, I should have done the powder filled.
Well, yeah. There was no wrong answer for
Yeah.
you. But you don't need the microblading.
Yeah. And I think one of the reasons why I picked the microblading was I was kind of scared about like having anything more
Well,
than
sure,
that.
it's scary. Especially the first time when you don't know what you're getting into. That's why I always tell people I would rather tiptoe up to the final result than
absolutely.
overshoot and leave you stuck with something you don't want, because then we're both going to be unhappy in the end, and I'm not interested in unhappy clients.
Yeah.
It's not good for any of us.
And last year I wasn't really ever wearing makeup, so.
Well, once these heal, these aren't gonna look makeup-y either. Right now they will.
Well, yeah.
But when they peel, they're still gonna be soft enough that you're not gonna need to put makeup on to look right. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it just gives that little extra.
Yeah. Some clients, if I know they're putting on a full face of makeup every day, I might make a different choice than somebody that I know doesn't wear a lot of makeup every day. My goal is to give you the brows that go with you.
Exactly.
Not the brows I don't put the same brows on everybody. If you look at my line of work, you'll see they all look different because I go like on the vibe that you give me.
Exactly.
If somebody comes in here like in Birkenstocks and no bra, they're not gonna get the same eyebrows that I put on somebody that I know, who has lash extensions, and you know what I mean?
Exactly.
You kind of have to know the client a little bit. Do you love them?
I